I have to say something. You're going to find this interesting. For those evolutionists, I have no problem evolution being taught in the public school system. I just wish that we talk about the problems of the evolutionary theory. And that's the aspect that I have an issue with. Talk about the problems with Miller's experiment. Talk about the fossil record. Talk about some of these other topics. I wish they would. Vernon Gibbs. Now this guy is not an evolutionist, but his quote is quite apropos. He says this, that the guy is an expert in information theory. He's a phenomenal writer. Here's what he says. Since the findings of James D. Watson and Francis Crick, findings of DNA double helix, won a Nobel Prize in 1953, he says, it was increasingly realized by contemporary researchers that the information residing in the cells is of crucial importance for the existence of life. He goes on to say, anybody who wants to make meaningful statements about the origin of life would be forced to explain how the information originated. All evolutionary views are fundamentally unable to answer this crucial question. How do you get information from randomness, from time? And this is I'll give one more quote. This is a quote that Fred Hoyle, a famous British astronomer, something similar to it, but these two scientists were looking at the probability of life and doing some experiments on a Cray computer back in the 1980s. And he came up with an interesting way to talk about the probability of life by chance, random processes. The chances that life just occurred are about as unlikely as a typhoon blowing through a junkyard and constructing a Boeing 747. Now, information is the part, as a mathematician, that appeals to me. When we look at the information in a cell, and even you should be impressed by that. The information in DNA is just incredibly complex. The DNA molecule is incredibly complex. Agreed? It's an incredibly complex, dense molecule. And it's been estimated, and I've seen more than one estimate, that if we could take the DNA in every single cell in the human body, we could fill the Grand Canyon 40 times over with books. The point being is this. There's a lot of information there in that cell. And we look at these computers, and we're awed by this computer here. But the DNA, the complexity, the order, it's amazing. And we all should be in awe of that. Okay? We all should be. Life is incredible, people. Life is incredibly complex. It's just incredible. And I'm grateful every day. Probability. Now, I should get into the mathematics since I'm a mathematician. Law of probabilities by Borel. He's a famous mathematician, statistician. He basically came up with the fact that anything that has odds of being 10 to the 50th power, that's a 10 with 50 zeros, is, for all practical purposes, impossible. The reason I bring this in is because I want to show you a couple of probabilities. A single protein developed by time plus chance is 10 to the 191th power. These numbers are huge. A single cell, Fred Hoyle, 10 to the 40th thousand power. That's 10 to 40,000 zeros. These numbers, if someone has an idea of how to explain some of these numbers, I'd love to hear it, because I'll tell you what, I have trouble with the trillion, and I know Congress does too, by the way. Okay. The probability of just one DNA arranging itself by chance has been calculated to be one chance in 10 to the 119,000 power. This is in the beginning, Walt Brown, page 12. Now, John talked about the law of biogenesis, and to me, it's probably the most established law in science. And again, the law of biogenesis supports the creation model, but it doesn't support the evolutionary model. The law of biogenesis says that life comes only from preceding life. Okay? That's something that we observe. We've never seen life coming from non-life. And you just can't take that and just sweep it under the rug. You want to hold to an evolutionary view or to an atheistic view where there's no God, then you have to explain the fact that life came about by some process. And I'm interested to see a response to that. I'm going to I really would like to hear a response to how to deal with it. And I don't want to say, well, it's not part of the evolutionary process. That's the cop-out. No offense, it is. Because I can take it a quote after quote after quote that evolution has to begin with that. Microevolution. I'm all for it. Now this is an example where evolutionists and creationists we believe the same thing. I believe in microevolution. I believe there's variation. I believe there's incredible variation within the genome. No question. We have an agreement here. Let's keep in mind something. The evolutionists and the creationists, we're not totally every single thing we disagree. We have a common bond, a common perspective. And one area is change. I believe there's a change in gene frequency. I have no problem with that. The question is the extent of that variation. See, I don't have any problem with the dog kind or a rose kind, but I have a problem that everything evolved from a rock 4.5 billion years ago, personally. But it defies the laws of science. That's big. Now, variations do happen. Okay, variations do happen, but they have limits. Farmers breed for bigger pigs. They will never get a pig as big as a horse. Okay? We have that. They produce the same kind of animal or plant. This is not evolution. This is variation. The information for the variation was already present. We would agree that you can take a quote from Richard Dawkins, you can take quotes from other evolutionists, that the DNA has an incredible amount of information. True? We would agree with that. The information is already present. No new information is added. Fourthly, the gene pool on the new variety is more limited than before and less able to adapt to future changes. When we breed, a great example is breeding dogs. You're going to have a Chihuahua, you have, which is a mutant, by the way, maybe I have people with mutation. But the Chihuahua is a dog that, it can never be a Great Dane. It has lost information. You start with a Mongol type of dog and you can get a Chihuahua and a Great Dane, but in these instances you're taking information away. Evolution, I believe, is based upon two faulty assumptions. Mutations make something new. Mutations are copy errors. You said it yourself. Copy errors. If I take a computer program and I make a change to it, am I going to get a more effective process? No. Mutations, 99% of mutations are harmful or neutral. I'm more than happy to hear about some beneficial mutations. Okay? Please don't say sickle cell anemia, please. Give me an example of a beneficial mutation. We'd like to hear something, because, and even resistant bacteria doesn't solve your case. Bacteria, if we use the evolutionary model, was around for billions of years. So you get a resistant bacteria. What is it? Bacteria. What is it now? Bacteria. That's not evolution. That's just a change in the gene frequency. I have no problem with that. Natural selection makes it survive and take over the population. I agree with natural selection. Actual selection was developed by Edward Blyth 20 years before Darwin, 1824. And he basically said natural selection is a conservative process, not an innovative. Now, we cannot gloss over this next quote by Pierre-Paul Grasset, French zoologist whose knowledge of the biological world was encyclopedic. This guy says this, and again, these quotes can be, if you need more of these type of quotes, this is an evolution. No matter how numerous they may be, mutations do not produce any kind of evolution. They rearrange existing information but do not increase genetic complexity. For example, this bull here. Yeah, it has an added leg. Big deal. So I can help it. I can help it run faster, that's for certain. Now, they brought up the point of the fossil record. Well, let me give a couple of quotes. First of all, this is the so-called tree of life. Next slide. All right. I have no problem with birds, mammals, crocodiles, lizards, etc. But everything in between, that's speculation. That's hypothesis. All right. Now, Darwin said the tree of life. Darwin said in his theory. Next slide, please. If my theory be true, numberless intermediate varieties must assuredly have existed. Origin of Species, page 211. By the way, how many familiar with Darwin actually in the 6th edition? Do you realize that he said natural selection is not the effective mechanism that he hoped for? Is anybody aware of that? In the 6th edition, he wrote that quote. Are you aware of it? In the 6th edition, it's interesting. As he wrote, he said, this got to be something else. I'll get you the quote if you want it. No problem. The extreme rarity Now let's take a look at some quotes by a very famous evolutionist who actually, I'll show you in a moment, he knows the truth now. He's dead. The extreme rarity. That's how tactful I am. The extreme rarity of transitional